Hey everyone! Welcome to the second episode of Our Nature Stories, the Traveling Nature Journal. Librarian Grace here, and look what I got in the mail. This is from Librarian Jenn. I've already unsealed the package, and now I'm going to open it up to reveal our beautiful nature journal. All right, and just to recap on what happened last episode, Librarian Jenn did a story about red. And so if you remember, I'll show you guys her entry, which is glorious and magnificent. Look at all of the red things that she found in her neighborhood. Got a kangaroo paw, got a rose petal, some birds, Japanese maple leaves, and it poses a question here about these geraniums that she pressed. Can you still smell them? Let me check. I think actually there is a faint smell there still, which is really cool, and I wonder how long it will last. Anyways, she wrote a letter to me and she gave me a challenge. So let me read that challenge out loud to you. Your challenge, if you need inspiration, is to journal about something you noticed that surprised you. What was surprising? How was it different than you expected? Then make a new challenge and send the journal on. Have fun. Your friend, Jenn. All right, so my challenge is to find something or things that surprise me. Okay, I'm gonna take that challenge on, and the first step is to go outside, take a walk around your neighborhood, maybe go somewhere else if you want to, but since we're sheltering in place still for the most part, I'm gonna take a walk around my neighborhood and then I'll come back. All right, see you guys soon. Hi everyone, I've come back from my nature walk, and I've also spent some time in the backyard just observing what was going on around me, and I have much to report. So I have here on the next page of the nature journal a letter to Librarian Catherine, who will be receiving this journal next, and I've written to her, Dear Catherine, welcome to the Traveling Nature Journal. Though we have mostly been sheltering in place in our homes, and the days seem to blend together at times, the small surprises hidden throughout have been marking the season. Jenn challenged me to journal about what surprised me. I took on the challenge and have shared it with you in the following pages. I was surprised by how resilient grass can be, by how strong stems are, by how heavy succulents can get, by the shiny shell of a beetle, by the fuzzy softness of many plants along my walking route, and more. I hope you have fun reading about my adventure. Next, I have written a challenge to Librarian Catherine, which she can follow if she wants to, or she can go on her own direction if she wants to. And I'm excited to show you what I'm about to do in my nature journal entry. Alrighty, so today I'm going to make a journal entry on a story about, just to reach inside the envelope, to flip over, surprises! Yay! All right, there are so many things that surprised me, and I'm really excited to show you my techniques for nature journaling about them. I'm also going to show you later a technique that I like to use with sewing. So I don't know if you've ever sewed paper before, but depending on how thin the paper is, it's actually really easy. And what I like to do is I like to put certain types of floral pieces that were pressed, put them onto a piece of scrap paper like this and sew it on there so that I don't have to put glue on the flower or leaf directly. Okay, so I have here a pincushion with some needles and then some thread. All right, let's get started. So what I have here is a book that's relatively thick and big. So I've got The Complete Tales of Madeline. And what I like to do is I like to mark the page so that I know which page my pressed flowers and leaves are on. And so I just put a post-it note. But yeah, so right here I've got 2 flowers that have been pressed onto this page. And if you have more, you can, put them all throughout the page, and then, make sure you close it shut really tight and then put some other books on top of it so that it's weighty. Here's a few drawings that I'm going to paint over. Alright, so I have not only drawn some of the things that surprised me, but I also painted them in. Yay! Start with the facts. I have a tomato plant that is thriving in this heat. I harvested some tomatoes the other day. And I was cutting off this piece of the tomato that looked like it was eaten. Oops, looked like it was eaten by a pest. When I cut it on my cutting board, an insect came running out. That definitely surprised me.
Sorry for my messy handwriting there. But messy handwriting is totally forgivable when it's a nature journal because it often just looks like field notes, right? So yeah, that's the story of the insect that was living in my green tomato. Now you have your illustrations done and painted, and now what you want to do is arrange some of your dried flowers and leaves onto the page where you want them to go. Then what I did here was for some of them I just taped them down with using my washi tape that I mentioned earlier. So this leaf is really huge, and I put a piece of tape here, a piece of tape there, and a piece of tape on the stem. I also did the same for this leaf right here in the corner. Okay, so in terms of attaching or sewing this pressed flower onto a piece of paper, I need a needle. Also need the piece of paper that goes underneath, and I need some thread. So I'm going to show you how I go about doing this. So now that I've glued this piece on, I can show you what I've done with the rest of them. So I sewed this one onto this yellow piece of paper, and I used red thread, and I sort of made my way up to the top just like how I did for the previous one. I also did the same with these flowers. And it's fun to use different colored threads if you have them, and different colored papers if you have them as well. And I did it for this really soft leaf too, and it's actually really fun and really easy to do it on these really soft ones because it almost feels like you're just sewing on cloth. And also, lastly, these purple flowers here. If anything, if you just want to glue them to the pieces of paper underneath, that's totally fine too. Probably don't use too much glue so that it comes through to the other side. Play with the different color combinations and just have fun with it. Alright, I have finished my entry on surprises around my neighborhood in nature. So let me walk through a few of the things that I want to highlight. So these flowers were spread and scattered all over the sidewalk, and it was just like purple confetti all over the place, and that really gave me a delightful surprise. And I crossed the street just to walk in it. This leaf is so fuzzy and soft. I love it. and I've definitely felt them before, but every time I feel them, it's like a new surprise. These flowers, for instance, they were actually a really light, pale pink color originally, but then when I dried them and pressed them in my books, they became this really bright purple. And so I wrote here that I was surprised to see that they changed colors, and I also wonder why they went from a lighter color to a darker color, because usually I would think that it's the other way around when you dry a floral piece. One other thing that I included here on this page is this drawing of a beetle that I saw. Unfortunately, it wasn't alive anymore on the sidewalk, but it caught my eye because it was actually, upon looking closer, it was very shiny. So you can't tell in the video, but it's actually painted with a shiny sort of gold color that reflects what it actually looked like in real life. Another thing that I included here was this leaf, which was a very interesting color to me. It was kind of this dark purple, sort of grayish color, which you can't see too closely in the video, unfortunately, but there was a whole bush of these leaves, and they're a little bit fuzzy too, so they're interesting to touch. But in the midst of all of these really dark purple leaves, there were these tiny purple lavender flowers that were probably 3 times smaller than my drawing here. So it was super tiny, but it had all these exquisite little details, and I was very surprised to see those. Moving on to the next page, this little flower here had these bright yellow stripes, and I didn't expect to see something like that. The stripes were so perfect looking, and they were just really, really cute, and I was surprised by its cuteness, as I wrote over here. Of course, huge leaf. I don't know what the tree is called, but I do see these leaves all around, and these are really thick, and they feel like leather almost. So, yeah, super fun. This drawing over here is of a flower that kind of reminds me of like a Hawaiian hibiscus type of flower, but I don't know. It might be in the same genus, it might not be. But it was this beautiful, magnificent, really big flower, and normally when I pass by the bush, they're sort of closed up like this, and they're really small, but that might be because I'm usually walking in the evening, towards the evenings, and on this particular nature walk, I was walking in the middle of the afternoon, and it was in full bloom. So I wrote here, I wonder what they look like at all times of day and night. And of course, really soft. And of course, I want to mention that my page is filled completely. There's hardly any empty space. I want to encourage you to figure out what style you like best. Maybe you only like having a few things on each page and having a lot of empty space. That's totally fine too. I'm sort of the opposite, where I like a single space on both of the pages. But maybe next time I'll challenge myself to do sort of a more simple layout. But that's totally up to you as the artist. Do you want things to be more spread out on the page? How do you want to arrange your different drawings and your dried and pressed flowers? Do you want them really close to each other? Do you want them organized in a certain way? That is totally up to you as the nature journaler. Journaler. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining me in this nature journaling adventure. It was so much fun, and I learned a lot about my own neighborhood. Until next time in Our Nature Stories. Bye!